Hello, people. My name is Amanda Lundstedt from Flavor Mag, and I'm here today talking to Vanessa Pellegrin, who is the creator of a new and very exciting documentary about feminism and anti-feminism, and it's called The Trouble with the Ex. Welcome to the Google Hangout.
Hi, thanks for welcoming me.
Hi. So just to start us off, could you tell us a bit more about the concept of this documentary?
The documentary itself is a performative documentary, so it's not following the traditional guidelines type, presenter, research. I mean, in a way, like, showing statistic and doing a journalist report, like you can watch on the BBC or somewhere else. It's really basically I've chosen two characters that represent both sides of the topic around feminism, and I put them into a challenge, and so one of them is Lucy Holmes, who is campaigning for the No More Page Free campaign, and Nick Lancaster is a TV presenter working in Sky Sports, and who is a non-feminist. He's an equalist. He believes in gender equality, but doesn't like very much the term feminism, neither the movements. So in order to understand what's going on, we see all this debate going on, on social media and so on. We decided that their challenge would be basically to swap their points of views and to canvass for the other side of their beliefs. So we're going to put them in situations where they have to face different opinions and different thoughts that they usually face. So it's very about taking out people out of their comfort zone, basically.
Would you argue that there is something wrong with the feminist word?
I think there is something wrong with the feminist word in a way that just how people feel. I mean, bear in mind that we've been investigating in the subject for the past 2 years, and what has been covered by the media recently just showed us that we were right. And very, very recently, the last thing about feminism was Emma Watson's launch about the he for she campaign. So and she very focused on the fact that there was a problem with the feminist word. So I don't think if there was any, you'll put such a great actress having a speech at the United Nations to defend the cause. And this has been an ongoing debate for the last 2 years. We've seen it with the Shirtgate, with Rosette. Well, basically it was all about the Matt Taylor's T-shirt, if it was sexist or not. So it's been covered in that way. It's been covered by the page 3. Yes, are we going to take it down or not? Very recently, Emma Watson's the He for She campaign, as I said, and many, many other. I could give you 10 or thousands examples about what's going on within the feminist world. But basically, yes, that's how we came across. A lot of people feel this way, men and women. And so we felt it would be interesting to expose their point of views in that documentary.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a very interesting concept. And are you sort of going to be looking at where this negative connotation associated with feminism stems from?
Yes, very obviously. Yeah, we're gonna play. There are two main things. First, apart from the fact that it aims to be performative, like basically it's very subjective in a way that the two characters are going to give their point of view and represent both sides of society, as I mentioned before. So we're going to explore their belief and their point of views. I'm not like entering in that experiment, because it's really, I really wanted them to have 100% unbiased things. So we don't even let them know about what's going to happen. We tell them like probably 2 days before where we're going to go, who we're going to meet, and just on purpose, so they can feel comfortable when they come to meet those people, but on the same time they don't feel biased, or they don't have the time to do research, extended research about it, because we really want them to ask these naive questions and to push the debate forward. So that's really the aim of it. And so, yeah, of course, so it's going to play with that. It's going to play around the stereotypes of feminism, where it's coming from. is it justified or not? So this is all the thing we're gonna find out.
That sounds great. One of the things that I find interesting about feminism is how I know a lot of people often seem to differentiate between the good and the bad. You hear people saying things like, I'm not a radical feminist, when the actual definition of radical feminism is someone that believes that we live in a patriarchy. So that the patriarchy is a system in which male supremacy oppresses women. Now, would you personally say that you believe that we live in a patriarchy?
I don't. I mean, yeah, this is a very interesting. This is an interesting concept. I agree with you because there's many of these kind of backlash, within the feminist movement itself. So you even have the sex workers that we interviewed that are pro-sex feminists and opposing, the radical feminists that are totally against and abolitionists. And I think the thing, like, they've got valid points on their sides. Because it kind of opposes a practical debate versus a philosophical debate. So one is all about what's going to happen to our jobs, our conditions. Are we going to be affected by the new laws, abolishing prostitution and sex work in general, and how it's going to affect our income and our lives? And you have the radical feminists that really clearly said, do we want to live in a society where patriarchy is there, and do we want to live in a society where pornography became a standard? So this is all the kind of thing that we need to see. And again, I think the issue is really about modern feminism in the UK, because bear in mind, I don't think a lot of people would disagree with the fact that in many countries, apart from the Western world, equality hasn't been reached at all yet. I mean, by law, people, women and men, are totally unequal, and this is a fact. Now, the issue is within the Western world, boys and girls, essentially from that generation and my generation, we were born with total equality. I mean, by law, you and I, with another man, we are absolutely equal. Now, in terms of practical things, there are issues out there that we'll expose and develop. So the patriarchy thing is very becoming difficult, to say about to which level, to what extent, and how does it demonstrate in the society. Is it as brutal like in Saudi Arabia, for example, or in Afghanistan, or or even in countries, in Morocco, where I'm partly from, is not as bad, but we still have laws that authorizes a rapist to marry his victim. So so that's the kind of thing, so that's, I think there is a massive gap in between that, so issues are still there, but they're not probably to the same level and the same showing in the same extent, and that's where I think there is a need of rethinking feminism somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it can be a bit scary for people going into feminism when there's actually already such a huge divide within feminism itself, and that seems to be growing, just like you were saying in regards to workers and pornography, for example. Do you think that it's necessary for people, for example, that want to call themselves a feminist, to have to choose a side, or do you actually believe that feminism can or even should be inclusive?
I think that's the main problem of feminism. I think at the end of the day, essentially in the UK and the US, because that's the main territories we're covering, because just only because the feminism and anti-feminism has been mainly broadcasted out there, like they are out there on your face, and I think definitely there is a lot of misunderstanding, and it's composed of different movements, and there is a miscommunication between all these movements, and it feels like, for instance, the sex workers we interviewed felt totally ostracized by feminism and claim themselves feminist. So I don't know. I mean, again, it's a very complicated subject. We are there, to report and to oppose different views. So, for example, Lucy, who is campaigning against a page that is, sexist towards women, showing, being very, out of context, because that's the problem. But by itself, she's not, against glamour modeling or glamour models at all. So, and it's not even a movement of puritanism. That's what people, people don't understand that very often. But the fact she went to see these people and meet them and talk to them, you can see the gap and the misunderstanding, there is in between these two sides. And this is exactly what we're trying to do. Letting people speak. It's a bit controversial, that's for sure, but letting them speak for themselves and see what they have to do and see what we can pick up from there. And if there is probably something at the end to do about it, and that will probably answer your question, at the end of the day. So let's see.
In regards to the anti-feminist aspect of this documentary, would you say that there are certain aspects of anti-feminism that you would sympathize with yourself?
There's something interesting about it, because again, it's becoming, a bit of like a big bag, and we put everything inside. There are different things. It depends, again, what is about anti-feminism that would agree. For example, for now, every people we talking to are strongly believing in equality between men and women. So so there is definitely something that has to be tackled within the term, the word. Is it the word that poses the problem? Is it what is inside? Is it the fact that everything is online? Is it the different campaigns? Is it the fact as well that we tackle sometimes individual that poses problem? I think, the question is very, very broad and complicated. So sympathizes with some probably there's something that are interesting and are relevant, I think, but nothing that will be against the equality between men and women.
Now, do you believe that this so-called lad culture that we have here in the UK is harmful, or is it just a bit of banter? Because I know that that's often something that I guess some people would label as the anti-feminist movement, because it is that sort of different type of lifestyle, I suppose, which is the purpose of this documentary, sort of putting Lucy out of her comfort zone and putting Nick, who's supposedly like a lad, into formal spheres and experiencing that. So yeah, I was just wondering what your views about lad culture in general are.
I'm from France, and there's a lot of things, that since I came to the UK, I was quite surprised by the whole thing, even if it's not very different, but there are differences in a way. I think the issue is more that it seems like to be an ongoing battle of the sexes that is not stopping. And I think that's why, men are not sympathetic with the feminist movement in general. Even, it's really rare, that I've met personally, through this documentary investigation, people that are really against gender equality and, assuming that men and women today in the Western world should be equal in rights and things like that. It's very, very rare. Now, the thing is, they've got other issues that every time, and it's becoming, as you say, what is the banter, where is the sexual harassment? So this is, again, the tricky question, because they say, oh my God, I'm scared now to compliment a woman on the street because I could be, she could tell me that I'm sexually harassing her. And, it's becoming a bit sad in a way. So, again, it depends, I think it depends really on the attitude, what you say, if you're insisting or not, and that's where you can see where the limit is, and if you see where people, women generally, I'm not going to scream and shout about sexual harassment all the time. If they do that, they probably have a good reason. So that's the thing as well. I think there is a lot of education and a lot of communication to have, with the man and the woman that clearly, because we are in relationship, because we've got sons, because they have fathers and boyfriends, and they clearly don't want to be this kind of anti-man, kind of girl. And I don't think that these girls as well would be, happily to be harassed or, attacked or, anything like that. So again, all these things, are going to be developed in the film because it's absolutely fascinating. And we're really looking forward to see how Nick will react because it's his reality more than mine. And it's the reason why we chose him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I know that a lot of men sometimes feel a bit hesitant towards calling themselves a feminist or even getting involved in any feminist activities, which probably makes it a lot harder to sort of, get rid of that gap that you were talking about, that really that's going on between the lads and the girls or the feminists. And some feminist organizations obviously feel like they're better off being women only for various reasons. And why do you think that is? And do you think that's something that needs to change in the feminist movement? Do you think that we need to call for a more inclusive feminist movement where men have something to say and where men have a place as well?
I think men are not, included very much into the feminist, movements at all. I don't think, some women would argue, there was no point to have, a male supremacy, within the battle for a woman, which could be understandable. But at the same time, say, how can you reach gender equality if you don't have men on board? Yeah. So that's a question I'm asking because I'm quite open to, as I said, to I'm here, to listen to every point of view, even, something that could be absolutely horrendous for some people, but I really would like to understand what's going on. And but at the same time, I think it's quite necessary that that men are are more feeling more equal to women and feeling that there is a need of a battle to achieve this equality. After, for feminism or not, I don't know, but the problem is that a lot of men don't see if there are inequalities, don't see if there is a need for them to fight for anything. So again, that's the same problem because for a long time, it was men, fighting, well, women fighting against men, sorry, because we were totally unequal by law. Today, it changed a little bit. We're equal by law. We are there, and so some of them is like, why should I be, why should I be a feminist? And even they think feminism is mainly a female domination kind of movement. They don't see as a battle for equality at all. Most of them don't know, what it is, and even if they, even what they see is everything that has been broadcasted by the news, which, unfortunately, a lot of things have been quite dramatic for feminism. I think, targeting a scientist for his shirt or talking about men spreading on the tube, on New York's tube, saying that men are openly taking space, just to annoy women or things like that. I think that's counterproductive, really, totally.
But it's a bit interesting, though, to just sort of, like, about the manspreading, for example. Do you not think that it's a bit interesting how men are just automatically take a bit more space? Like, not to say that they do it because they're trying to be annoying, because I certainly don't believe that, because it's something that most men do, and obviously not all men are trying to be annoying on the tube and taking up too much space. But would you not say that the fact that men, in a way, with their legs spread out really wide, and girls sort of try to, like, make themselves smaller or just, sit with their legs closed, and we get taught from a very early age to close our legs? Do you not think that sort of body language represents what's going on in the society?
Well, I'll be honest. I'll be honest on that kind, on that kind of thing. As over, I think is really counterproductive, and it's not, it's not helping at all. I mean, that's the thing. Men when when they look at feminism and they want even to research and say, oh, maybe I think probably they think generally that women are facing some difficulties. They don't reach equality in many things. But when they see that, why do you want them to be sympathetic? I mean, honestly, I think it's absolutely counterproductive, and it's even, I mean, we put our bags, it happened to me many times on the tube because no one was, close by me to put my bags there. And if someone gently just asked me to take it out, I will take it because it's just about being polite. Otherwise, you're just someone rude, and I don't think there is a whole story to do behind it. That's our main problem, and I think that's the main problem of feminism. It's becoming a catch-call. We put everything there. What are the real causes we need to fight for?
Yeah.
What is the main thing? We need to unite people, a lot more through feminism or not through feminism. I mean, again, that's not my personal opinion in there that counts, because the film is not about me, what I think. It's about the characters.
Yeah.
But I really, I mean, personally, I just think that you need communication and uniting people through any movement to achieve this equality should be there. And by doing this, we're absolutely doing the opposite that we should do. So it's not, I don't think it's a good reason, and I think it's just targeting, it's just really stupid. We can talk to each other at the end of the day. That's what I think. So.
Yeah, okay. So while you've been filming this, what are some of the different attitudes? So how have reactions been so far?
Well, quite positive. I mean, the only thing that it's a bit complicated in my position is like I'm a bit in the middle of both sides, and everybody is like, "Oh, what she's gonna say," and having like a bit not because that's a bit like because that's the thing. I'm really not biased in that film. I really don't avoid that. I know it's controversial. I know it doesn't make happy a lot of people. But honestly, I think this debate is more than necessary nowadays. Otherwise, you wouldn't have so many stories. You wouldn't have people having a lot of hashtags from yes, all women to feminism is awful to I need feminism, I don't need it, and so on and so on. Every day there is something coming up, and so people are passionate about it. And it's true that every time we post an article that we haven't written, because that's what we put on our Facebook and Twitter pages. We post articles daily to raise, to create that debate. And most of the time, there are, articles that don't please, a side of the, of each society. So, the pro-feminist or the anti, and some people are not pleased, by that. But at the same time, how do you want to create a debate if it's not exposing, both sides? I'm just wondering. So, people have been quite interested in that in general, but it's true that in the other side, they've been, they're kind of waiting for us to see if we are any kind of manipulative or whatever, which we don't. So we took on purpose two characters that are, having their own point of views, their own things. So I don't come as a director saying, oh, this is what I think and this is why, and this is what it should be. So we're just going to expose, and we're going to challenge, both sides with some questions that all, that we can see all the time in social media. Some of them being probably very naive. Some of it, some of them probably some people are going to think are stupid, but it doesn't really matter because I think that's all the issues around that.
So would you say that this is a documentary that people, for example, that are inquiring a bit about feminism or don't really know where they stand yet, they can sort of go into this world and really feel like they can make up their own mind about it rather than having someone tell them how they should think about feminism?
I think, yeah, definitely. People should, I think they're definitely going to make their own minds because we're going to expose everything from both sides. So the aim is like what men reproach to feminism. There is a whole list about it. So but not only them, sex workers were very approach to feminism. But on the same time, you mentioned radical feminism. People have no idea really about what it is. We met the radical feminists, and they got valid points. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of things that I was, I'm surprising myself, say, well, yeah, there are some things that actually I can't disagree with. But on the same time, the sex workers, when they were talking, they said, well, there are some stuff that I can't disagree with. So it's really about trying to, Lucy was really in the middle trying to, to build this bridge, and to communicate and exposing what she thinks, versus what the people think. And at the end of the day, you could see that even people, were arguing that there were some common points. So I believe, debate and communication is key in anything, in any movement and any cause you would like to have, because and trying to ignore, necessarily the other side, and or just thinking that they're not worth to be listened to, it's not going to help, and that's the way I believe. It's not going to help. But again, the great thing about this film, we really didn't met anyone so far that was against gender equality. The problem is really with the term feminism and the movement, and so let's find out why it's like that.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to watching this documentary and finding out. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
It's been lovely to chat with you. Yeah.
Yeah, pleasure shared.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amanda. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.